In this video, I'm going to cover how to turn in an Illustrator file so that you do not run into any problems. I'm going to start with how to and save the why in the quiz questions for the end of the video, just in case you are watching this for a second time. Now, one of the first things you want to do here is go up to this little thing here that says Switch Workspaces and select Essentials if it's not already selected, and then go to Reset Essentials so you see the same choices that I have over here, mainly Properties. As discussed in the Files and More videos, you should have your file system all set up so that you have a folder for our class and then a folder for different projects. So for this example, I'm going to use a fictitious project here called Mexico Flyer. And then inside of there, remember we have early work stuff, working files, turn into Steve. So right now we are working on our latest version of this document, and we save some backups along the way. So the very last thing that we want to do is make sure we've got a saved copy of our latest working version, and that of course went into our working files. And then now we are getting ready to turn this in, so we are going to go File, Save As, and we are going to now put this into the Turn into Steve folder. And then I'm pretending that I am Jane Doe for this one. So Doe, last name underscore Jane, first name underscore short description of the project, and then the extension. I'm going to click Save, and then we are going to go in here, and the first step we are going to do is clean everything up. So this is the finished one over here. I'm going to make sure that nothing's locked in my layers here, and you probably have a lot more layers than what I have. Going to delete the stuff that I don't need. Going to click on the artboard tool over here, click on the artboard that I do not need, and delete it. All right, so we've covered all these steps right here. And just note, never turn in folders to me, just the file or files that are indicated. If there's an exception to this, I will definitely inform you of it. You want to make sure that all of your layers are unlocked. So simply clicking here will remove the lock, but you also might have individual selections locked. I'm not a big fan of looking for those in the sublayers. What I like to instead do is come over here to Object, and if Unlock All is available to select, select that, and then any sublayers that I had locked will become unlocked. All right, we just covered these highlighted steps. If this is the first time that you are doing this process of saving an AI file and being checked on it, then what you need to do is nice and big type the word text just to the left of this artboard. And you'll see why in a minute. Okay, now what we're going to do is cover the problems with images. So if you have an image inside of your file, you need to embed that image for this turn-in. So the way that you know if an image is embedded is you go up to Window, you go to Links, and then set this to show all. And then what you want to do is select every image that you have here. In my case, I just have one. And then I'm going to go to this drop down and I'm going to select Embed Image. Now it is embedded. Now, if you see this and this doesn't work for you, like in other words, sometimes you'll have a red link here, and that could just mean that your image got moved around as you were working on it. You may want to just try this. Go to Relink, go back to where your image was, click on Place, it gets relinked, and then try it one more time and go to Embed Image. And then the way to verify that your images are embedded is go to Show Embedded, and then it's only going to show the images that are embedded, which should be all of them. Now, a very important thing about this step is that this may not apply to this time, but it could apply in the future. So make sure that you either come back in and watch this video the next time you have to turn in an AI file, especially if you have images, or just make very good notes. So these are all the steps for embedding the images. We are going to take care of the other problem that can come up, and that is that the person you are giving this Illustrator file to may not have the same fonts that you used. So what we are going to do is make a copy of this artboard and the word text, and we are going to outline all of the text on that artboard. So here we go. We're going to select the artboard tool, and of course, as already mentioned, we want to make sure everything is unlocked. We are going to just simply, with this artboard selected and the artboard tool activated, we're going to click and drag like we want to move the artboard, but we want to go one step further. So I'm going to Command Z or undo that. And this time I'm going to hold down the Option key, drag. I'm going to release the mouse, then release the Option key. That gives me a copy of that. I'm going to do the same thing, just click and Option drag, release the mouse, release the Option over here. And then one more thing that I want to do is nice and big so that it's very easy to see when we're zoomed out and we can see both artboards. I want to write over the top of here, outlined. And if you do this, and let's say when you did it, the text came out really small, like that, just zoom in here till you can see what you wrote. Take the text tool, double click in here to get at it, and then change this to a much bigger size. And then that way there's no mistaking that this is labeled as outlined. Like I said, in the future, you will not have this and this, so it'll be very clear to whoever looks at your files that the reason that there's two exact same things here is that this one is outlined. So let's take care of the steps in outlining. First, we'll do a simple example here with this word right here, and you do want to do this. You do want to have everything that's over here outlined, except maybe the word outline. So you're going to go up to Type, and you're going to go to Create Outlines, which is right there. Now notice how that selection changed, and if we compare over here, you can see you've got a big selection box around this. You have a line for the baseline. Here, where these items are just shapes, we get a tighter outline. So what we want to do, again, make sure everything's unlocked, and we need to select every bit of text here. And probably the safest way to do that would be to just take your regular selection tool here and make a marquee that's really tight to this board so that you're not selecting anything on the other artboard. And it looks like everything on there is selected. And then we go up to Type and we choose Create Outlines one more time. And if we just go through and we select all of the text and we look for what we already talked about, like the tight selection, but also if we look over here and we look at the difference, if you select text over here, you have options for text. In the Properties panel, now you just have the same options that you would have for a shape. So again, look at how that works compared to this. And we'll do one more time with the single character. That way you know it's all outlined. And we've done all these steps up to this one, which is save. So we're going to go File, Save. And remember, we're saving into the folder there, the Turn Into Steve folder. And our last essential step is to test this. Now, there's a couple different ways to test. If you have access to Campus, by far the best way to test is take just your Illustrator file. Now, I know in the past I've told you always want to carry your folders, but that's when you're working on things, when you're getting ready to turn in and you're doing a test. All you're going to do is take just that Illustrator file and you want to try that on another computer. Now, if you don't have access to another computer, you can still test at least for embedded images. So let me show you how to do that. But before we do that, if you're checking it on another computer, what you want to look for is when you double click on that file and it opens up Illustrator, if the image is not embedded, you're either going to get a message saying that it's missing the image, and or if you zoom in on the image, it will look horrifically pixelated because it's just giving you a really cheap, low file count preview of the image that kind of gets like a quasi embed in the folder. And then the other thing that might happen is if that computer that you're testing it on does not have the same fonts that you have on your computer, you'll get a message that comes up that says the fonts are missing, and they usually have like a little halo around them like this, but in the color pink. So the other way you can do this is you go to the file that you're going to turn in and put this on your computer in a different spot. So in my case, I'll just Option drag, which makes a copy of it to my desktop, and then I'll close Illustrator. And when I double click on that file and it opens back up in Illustrator, I'm going to expect it to pop open with no problem. And sorry, I kind of missed a step there. Not kind of, I missed a step. You basically, after you move the file, you really do need to reboot your computer because Illustrator might still somehow be able to find that image on there. And then if you open it up from the other folder, or you open it up from another computer and you see this, then you know that you're missing or you forgot to embed that image. And watch what happens here. If I click replace, then I can navigate to the file, which is hopefully in the, like let's say we're not doing a test, but yet we went to the library and it couldn't find our image and we want it to work. If we were smart and we carried our folders with us that also contain that image, then all we'd have to do is click on replace, navigate into the folder where the image is, and replace it. No problem. If we don't have it and we click ignore, what happens is we get our file, but if you look close here at the image, you can see that it is really badly pixelated. So it's again what I was talking to earlier, where it's just a cheap, low resolution version of the image. All right, so now that you know all the steps, let's talk about why we do this. So the main reason, not all computers contain the same fonts. So I, as your instructor, need to see your design with your font choices, not some weird looking random font that's outlined in pink. So that's why we do the outline of the fonts. But we always want to keep a non-outline version of the fonts, because once you convert the font to an outline, it is just a shape. So what that means is if we didn't keep this and then all of a sudden we looked and we go, oh my God, I misspelled Mexico, we can't go in and fix that because it's just basic shapes over here. So we would notice our mistake. We would make sure we made ourselves a note so that when we got back onto the computer that had the proper fonts, we could fix it. But also, what if just somewhere down the road you wanted to say, oh, what font did I use on this project? Can't tell from this because it only brings up shapes, where here you can click on it and you can say, oh, that's right, that's Helvetica Neue. All right, so quiz question. Not all computers have the same fonts. When submitting Adobe Illustrator files to my instructor, I need a second blank with all the fonts outlined, and the answer is Artboard. And notice that's all one word. All right, and then the other thing we talked about was embedding images. So images should just be linked generally. Like when you're in the work stages, you rarely embed images. And one of the main reasons is as soon as you embed an image, it adds the entire file size of that image to the AI file. So if you're doing the smart thing of working on multiple versions of the image or of the Illustrator file, just in case something goes wrong, each one of these would increase and you would end up just wasting a lot of space on your computer. So one version of the image is all you need. It just simply gets linked. It's just a reference to that place where that image lives. But once you're ready to submit it to me, then and only then do you want to embed it. Next quiz question. Most of the time, I just want my image files linked. However, when submitting Adobe Illustrator files to my instructor, I need to, the answer is embed any images. And just a note, the quiz will not be assigned until you complete an upcoming assignment where you deal with web-ready JPEGs.